Hey Divi people, this is John from Divi Ready Themes, and in today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to use ThemePunches Slider Revolution in your Divi theme templates. As of today, Slider Revolution is the #1 selling slider plugin. Just to let you know now, I am in no way affiliated with Slider Revolution. I'm in no way affiliated with ThemePunch. It just happens to be my favorite slider. So I figured I'd do a nice tutorial for you guys. As you can see here, almost 300,000 sales. So a lot of people are using the Slider Revolution out there. So in this video, we'll be creating a slider in Slider Revolution and inserting it into our Divi layout via the code module. This is the slider that we're going to be going for. Let me do a refresh on that. And that is what we're going to be going for today. So let's get started. Before we do anything, we're going to need 3 images. So let's jump over to Photoshop. And as you can see here, I've got my 3 images already set up. I've got my laptop, I've got my iPad, and I've got my iPhone. Each one of these is on a transparent background. They're all transparent PNG files. We're going to need that transparency later on in the slider. Let's head over to the Slider Revolution. This is the main Slider Revolution screen if you haven't seen it before. On this screen I can create a new slider, I can add a slider from a template, I can import a slider. I'm going to be saving this slider for you to download, so you can download the slider as a starting point, or you can use it for your own theme, whatever you need to do. We have a homepage slider. That's a slider that I just showed you. And just to let you see here, once the plugin, I haven't activated the plugin on this one here, but once you activate the plugin, you get a whole bunch of pre-made templates in the Slider Revolution. Very awesome templates. So we are going to go ahead and start a new slider. Now we're brought into the slider settings, and as you can see here, we've got a lot of different options to choose from for the slider settings. We're just going to be using the default slider. Next thing we're going to do is give our slider a name. So my other slider is called Home Page Slider. So I'm going to call this one Home Page Slider 2. We're going to give it an alias, Home Page Slider 2. And you'll see that automatically populates the shortcode, which we're going to need to plug into our Divi theme later on. Next is our slider type, and this shows you, it has a whole bunch of different ones here, but we're just going to use the standard slider. You can have a hero scene, a carousel slider, and we've got a whole bunch down here that you could use as well, but we're just going to use a standard slider. And then we're going to go down to our slide layout. And in the slide layout, we're just going to use full width, so it covers, it goes across the entire screen. And we're going to give it a grid size of 1440 by 600. And as you can see, it resizes itself to show you what it's going to look like on the screen. You can leave all the other sizes to auto. You can always come back here later if it's not fitting on your mobile devices correctly and change those settings. But for now, we're just going to set it to 1440 by 600 and leave everything else on auto. Now, to the right of everything over here, you have a whole other section of other options you can use. We're going to keep this one very simple. General settings are just like if you wanted to stop the slide on hover. Any defaults you need here, if you want a shadow on the, if you want to have a shadow on your slider, I think it's somewhere here like no shadow. It has the whole different ones. And the navigation basically is the arrows or the bullets that go on the bottom of the slider. We're not going to be having any of those because we're only going to have one slide. These are also the default settings for all the sliders, which can be changed in each one of the individual sliders. So leave everything the way it is, do all the options I told you, and let's go down and save the slider. Let's save the settings. And now we're brought into our slider editor. And as you can see, we're editing home page slider number 2. We're on our first slide right here. And I'll explain each one of these sections as I go down. This first section here is for the main slider. Animations for the whole slider, stuff like that. We're not going to worry about any of these extra options here. We're just going to choose our main background, and our main background is going to be transparent. Down below that we have our window. This is the window where the slider is going to be created. And if I slide left and right, you should be able to see. I don't see them. Well, you can actually see them. I can't stretch my screen over here, but there's 2 guidelines to show you exactly where everything's going to fit on your slider. You can see the little green line there. Below the main window is our timeline. And if any of you old-timers out there remember Macromedia Flash, it's kind of the same as that with the keyframes and the tweening and stuff like that. Fun stuff. Before we start building the slider, there's one thing I want to do real quick. I want to jump over to the Divi page where we're going to be inserting the slider. And I want to get it set up in there so I can keep going back and forth and refreshing and see how it looks. So the first thing I'm going to need, I'm going to go back here real quick. And let's go to our slider settings. And I need to grab that code, the shortcode. And let's jump back to our slider here. This is our page here. So let me insert a full width. And we're going to insert a full width code. And the code is going to be the shortcode from the slider that we're creating. Wait till that's all set up there. I'm going to delete this one here. So we just have the main slider up here. I'm going to add a couple of sections below to give it some room. Add a couple of regular sections. Skip that part. Okay, we got plenty of room here. All right. All right, so we're all set. Let's go back to our slider revolution. And let's go back to our slide editor. And we're back in our slider editor window here. So we've got our new slide, we've got our transparent, we've got our window here. So the first thing I want to do is we're going to start adding our images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a layer. It's going to be an image layer. And we're going to grab the laptop image and insert that. Now we see it in our window here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to resize it a little bit. You don't have to hold down the Shift key in this. It's not like Photoshop. Let me go all the way to the right side of the screen here because I want the laptop to kind of like hang off the side of the screen a little bit. Let's make it a little tiny bit bigger. Okay. All right, so that looks good. Next we're going to do is we're going to add our iPad. Let's go back, add another layer, image, grab the iPad. We're going to bring that in. We're going to resize that. And I want it to hang down just a little bit from the front of the laptop. Make it a little bit smaller just so I can see my logo up there. And we'll leave that there. What we're basically doing is we're basically building the entire slider, and then we're going to add all the animation afterwards. Last thing we're going to do is add another layer, image, and grab our iPhone. Again, let's resize that. And that's going to sit a little bit lower than the iPad. I think it's a little bit bigger than that. I know my iPhone 7 is a little bit bigger than that. And that looks good. All right, so that's going to be the ending for all that. All right, now let's save that real quick. And if we jump back to our page and do a refresh, we should see... Oh, I didn't save it. Hang on one second. Okay, now if we were to do a refresh, well, let's exit the Visual Builder. You'll see our slider is starting to come out. No animation yet, we haven't put that in yet, but we see that it's got a good start so far. So, let's go back. Let's add animation to our 3 images here. Up on top here, you have an animation button here. And these are all the different options you have for animation. We're just going to be using the first one and the timer. So I'm going to be setting it to, I think it's long from right, because we want it to come in from the right. Did I just do I just did the iPhone, okay. And we're going to give it a power, I think it's a sine ease out. And you'll see now, well, it's still a little bit fast. We're going to give it a time of about 1200. So that should come out nice and slow and land nice and slow. Okay. All right, so we need to do the same thing for these ones here. So let's grab our iPad. Let's do long from right. Let's change it to sine ease out. Sorry, a little bit blind here. There we go. Okay. And we're going to change that timing to 1200. And you'll see that does the same effect. And now we're going to go to our laptop. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go back over here. Long from right. Sine ease out. And raise that up to 1200. I think I've got the pictures a little bit too small, I would say. Let me make these a little bit bigger. And grab the laptop first. And just raise this up a little bit. It's going to keep doing the animation for some reason, but... Alright, so that's a little bit bigger. Let me see if I can stop this animation. Alright, there we go. Alright, let me bring this up a little bit higher. Stretch it down a little bit further. Hang off the edge a little bit more. Bring my laptop, the iPad up here, make that a little bit bigger. Just a tiny bit bigger. Hang it down for a little bit. And then grab our phone and do the same thing, make it a little bit bigger. Okay. All right, that looks a little bit better. Fills up the screen a little bit more. Let's go back and save it real quick. There's actually a save button that you can't see right here, but I have that off screen. You have to scroll up all the time to save. All right, so we have, that's all saved. Let's go back to our slider. Let's refresh it. And we should see the animation now. Okay. Now you see how they all came out at one time. We're going to fix that later on with the animation timeline. Let's go back to our slider. And you can see that each one of our assets here has its own layer here. So we're going to call this one laptop. We're going to call this one iPad. Oops. And our last one is going to be iPhone. Okay, now that that's all set, let's go ahead and add our text. So back in our window here, we're going to add another layer. Let's stop that animation because it's driving me crazy. We're going to add a layer. We're going to add a text layer this time. And we're just going to type in beautiful, beautiful Divi layouts, because that is what I sell, beautiful Divi layouts. And let's go up here and let's add a break. That's how you have to add a break in the text of the slider. Let's go back here. Let's hit that check mark. So we have our wording there. Let's go back to our style here. That's where we can style everything. Let's give it a color of dark gray. We're going to give it a size. Oops, that didn't actually go in. Let me go dark gray. Forgot to hit the green check mark. We're going to give it a size of 70. Spacing of 75. And a weight of 300. And that looks perfect. All right. So that's going to go right there. Let's add another layer, another text layer. And on this one, we're going to say WordPress, HTML, CSS, oops, and Divi. That green check mark. Bring our words over here. And like we did before in the style, let's give it a dark gray color. We'll leave the size the way it is. We'll give it a weight of 600, and I think that looks fine. Okay. And the last thing we're going to be adding is a button. So go to Add Layer, Button. And the button generator in Slider Revolution is pretty good with the different styles and colors and hover states and all that kind of stuff. It's nowhere near as intricate as Divi's, but it's good for what we're using it for. So I'm going to go ahead and just use a default one. Okay, let's get started. I put the text in there and get our button down over here and situated. Okay. That looks pretty lined up, I think. Maybe this guy needs to move over a little bit. Okay. Now the same thing we did to these three images over here, we're going to do to the text over here. Only we're going to be giving a different kind of animation. We're going to be coming in from the left instead of coming in from the right. So let's go to our animation. Let's choose our first text here. And I think it was already set. Short from left, sign ease out, and 1200. We're going to set the same thing for the second set of words. Short from left. And we're going to give it a sign ease out. And we're going to give that a time of 1200. And the last thing we're going to animate is our button. Again, we go short from left, sign ease out, and 1200. Now we've got all of our animations set for our images and for our text. Now we're going to go down to our timeline here. And you can see that each one of these has its own layer, that the text layers automatically populate their names over here. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be telling it what to do before it comes on screen. So what I want to do is I want these words to come out first. I want them to come out staggered. Just this one first, then this one, then this one. So let's go to the words. We're going to leave this one here because that's going to be the start of the frame, start of the slider. This guy is going to move a little bit, move over here, and the button is going to come in a little bit after that. Now, our laptop I want to start coming out just before the button finishes coming out. And then we're going to have the iPad slide out, and then the iPhone slide out after that. You can actually see it doing it here if you could go up a little bit here. And we do the drag me thing. It'll show you exactly what we're doing. So I got that. That's perfect. I like the staggering there. And then the three images come on the side. So that looks really good. So let's go ahead and save that. And let's jump back to our slider page, and let's go ahead and do a refresh. And there you go. Beautiful header for any kind of Divi layout, any kind of Divi theme. One thing I forgot to do, because the slide is going to go off and restart again. If you only have one slide, down on the animation pane down here, these sliders are all going to time, and they're going to go on to the next slider. So what we want to do is we want to set those to just stop. Just click the clock icon there, or the little circular icon. You see it says wait. So it's going to get to the end of this slide, and it's going to wait. Let's go ahead and save that. And now let's jump back over here and give it a refresh. And that's exactly how we wanted it to go. Okay, so you're probably asking yourself, I'm in a Divi forum. Why am I watching a Slider Revolution tutorial? And I can show you that right now. If we go into the last part here, I mean, the slider looks great, but it just needs a little bit more, just a little piece of pizzazz to put in there. So we're going to enable our visual builder. And we're going to wait for our slider to populate. And what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to this section here and we're going to color it blue. We're going to go into the slider section here, background, add a background color of blue. And then we're going to go into, I think we're going to need some more space here, so let's add one more section. One regular section, one regular row. We'll color that one blue as well just to give it some height over here. Okay, so let's go back up to our first section here. And what we can do is go into spacing, design, and spacing. And let's give it a negative margin of about 200 something, well, not even 200, maybe 150. I think that's, am I going the right way or right? Let me just type in 150. Okay. And there you have it. That adds that little extra. Let me just show you what it looks like real quick. Let's exit the visual. Let's save this. And I'll give this a quick save. Now let's exit our visual builder. Now that is a good looking header. And I think with that, that ends the video. And I think that's it. Just want to let you know to purchase, we have a couple of new Divi layouts out there. We've got photography, which is our lens Divi layout. This is a beautiful photography theme for showing your portfolio and stuff like that. And we've also got oceans, which is a very popular theme. This is more of a holiday getaway kind of vacation theme. Makes you want to be sitting on the beach. So I guess that's it for this video. Don't forget to check out our online shop for the best premium child themes out there, the Divi layouts, at DiviReadyThemes.com. Subscribe and you could save 25%. And if you like this video and you want to see more Slider Revolution and Divi tutorials, let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to click that subscribe button. This has been John from Divi Ready Themes, and I'll catch you on the next video.